We're working on arranging Good morning, and welcome to Eastrose Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. Welcome to everyone online and also to everyone here in our chapel. To our first-time visitors, we are very glad you are here with us. I'm Patty Walsh. I'm your worship leader today. Our speaker will be our own Reverend Robin Landeman Zucker, and her topic will be All Souls and Dios de los Muertos, the Thrift Shop Angel and the Power of Memory. Eastrose acknowledges that for at least 13,000 years, many tribes and bands of people have made their lives here, where our church home and our communities now exist. We remember and honor these people who made their homes on this land, those here now and those who lived here before. In peace, may we share this land and honor one another. Let's now take a moment to turn and greet our neighbors. We're going to greet the folks both here and online. So please, oh, not yet, because first we have to greet the folks online. So stand up, y'all. Yep, wave to the folks at home. For those who would like to continue the conversation, please join us for coffee and potluck after the service. It will be in the Thatcher Room at the far end of the building. It's getting to me. If you brought mementos today to share during our service, now would be the time to come up and place them on the altar. And please remember that if you have any announcements, to bring them up to the podium. And I need them to be written clearly and not too small. And just to let the folks at home know, there will not be a cafe conversation Zoom meeting after the service today. And now, please join us together in our call to worship. You will find this in the gray hymnal. It is number 439, We Gather in Reverence. I will read the regular text, and you will be reading the italicized indented text, and I believe the words are on the screen. Oh, yours aren't italicized, they're white. So, we gather in reverence before the wonder of life.
The wonder of this moment.
The wonder of being together, so close, yet so apart.
Each hidden in our own secret chamber.
Each listening, each trying to speak.
Yet none fully understanding, none fully understood.
We gather in reverence before all intangible things that eyes see not, ears cannot detect,
that hands can never touch, that space cannot hold, and time cannot measure.
These were the words of Sophia Lyons-Foss. We'll now light the chalice. O spinner, weaver of our lives, your loom is love. May we who are gathered here be empowered by that love to weave new patterns of truth and justice into a web that is strong, beautiful, and everlasting. These are the words of Barbara Wells.
Thank you, Patty. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good to see you this morning, here and online. Our theme today is the power of memory for Dia de los Muertes and All Souls. We have some wonderful mementos you brought in, and you'll have a chance to share a little bit about those after the sermon. So I begin with this poem by Anne Mason called Moments. Moments long ago, my first dessert parfait, perfectly layered, laid out on the clean, crisp white tablecloth, the porcelain doll given by my sister, the small crack that I almost hid but not quite, my first tea set given at my engagement party. My mom was so proud and nervous. I could never tell that I broke one. The porcelain casserole I never did take out of the box. My first doll, never touched, only seen. I know I should give them up, let them go, yet I cannot. They remind me of days gone by when my heart was touched in a special way, and for a moment, I am there again, once more. We'll deepen into worship with our first hymn. It's number 336 in the gray hymnal, All My Memories of Love, and you will also see the words on the screen. Number 336, please rise as you are willing and able.
I'll play it all the way through once because we haven't done it for a long time.
It is now time for the story for all ages. We will ask Tara Toller, our leader, family education leader, sorry, blew the title, and the young people to come on up for a story on Dios de los Muertos.
Okay. So our story today is all about the holiday Dia de los Muertos, or the Day of the Dead. Dia de los Muertos is traditionally celebrated on November 1st and 2nd, but it can include other days depending on where it's being observed. It's sometimes confused with Halloween, and to some of us it might sound a little bit scary, but it's neither of these things. Dia de los Muertos is a joyful celebration of life and death, and a time to remember and honor our departed loved ones. If you've ever seen the Disney movie Coco, you've seen one representation of Dia de los Muertos. So this book is going to tell us a little more about it. It's Dia de los Muertos by Hannah Elliott, illustrated by Jorge Gutierrez. At the end of October every year, a very special holiday begins. It is Dia de los Muertos, or the Day of the Dead. Dia de los Muertos is an ancient tradition celebrated in Mexico and other places around the world. During this holiday, people take time to remember and celebrate family and friends who have passed away. Although it's called Day of the Dead, our celebrations last several days. With delicious foods, brightly colored decorations, and festive parties, we honor the lives of the people we miss, including those who left us many years ago. But before Dia de los Muertos begins, we must prepare. We bake a tasty, sweet roll called pan de muertos, or bread of the dead. We make a tole, a hot drink of masa, water, cinnamon, sugar, and vanilla. We gather flowers, especially cempasúchil. These are also called flor de muertos, or the flower of the dead. In our homes, we set up altars, or altares. We decorate them with offerings, or ofrendas, like candles and flowers. The light of the candles and the smell of the flowers help guide the spirits back to us. On the altar, we also place items that were important to our loved ones. We gather cherished books and musical instruments and special jewelry. We add their favorite foods and drinks. We add pictures. We surround ourselves with skeletons. We make huge skeletons out of paper mache and teeny tiny skeletons out of clay. We even paint them and dress them up. We pose the skeletons doing silly things like playing the guitar or dancing or even taking a bath. Along with skeletons, we decorate our bakeries, schools, cemeteries, and other places in our communities with beautiful cut paper designs called papel picado, and with skulls or calaveras. Many of these skulls are made out of sugar. They're embellished with colorful icings and designs. Some skulls even have the names of our departed on them. Some even have our names. We do all of this to celebrate the beauty of life and death rather than to mourn it. After a few days, many of us visit the cemetery for the last of the celebrations. We clean the tombstones of our loved ones. We play music and we tell stories. It's a festive time. When Dia de los Muertos is over, we put away the skeletons and the skulls and the altars. But the special holiday reminds us to enjoy life all year round, and it reminds us to honor our loved ones. This way, they stay in our hearts forever. And that's the end. So now we are going to head back to the RE area, and we are actually going to make some atole, and we're going to keep talking about Dia de los Muertos, while Reverend Robin and the adults stay in here, and they're going to talk about it as well. Maybe later we can share what we've learned with each other. So if the people along the center aisle would like to form a bridge, we'll sing our children out.
I'd like to invite you now into that quiet time in the service when we are just with ourselves in a quiet space. So uncross your legs, uncross your arms. See how much openness you can bring first to yourself physically. You can lay your hands on top of your knees if that's comfortable. And just feel yourself rooted to the floor. See how much you can sit up straight so that the crown of your head is elevated, almost like you have a string on top of your head. It's pulling you up to a full place. Close your eyes. See how much spaciousness you can bring with those open arms and those feet on the floor, and just breathe. 4 beats in slowly through your nose, the 5 or 6 beats out slowly through your mouth, kind of intentional, steady rhythm, creating that spaciousness. No high thinking, no problem solving, none of that. Just being with your breath and seeing how it affects you, body, mind, and spirit, and opening of your heart. We're just going to breathe. And drop your shoulders, loosen your jaw. See if your breath can relax your body from the top of your head to the soles of your feet. Stop and feel, breathe, and allow, even for 1 minute in the midst of your day. Your breath is always there. Breathe and allow. We'll remain seated for our quiet song, Return Again. It's number 1011 in the teal hymnal, but the words will be on the screen, and we will sing it 3 times.
I'll play it through once without the repeats, but then when we sing it 3 times, you'll repeat the first 2 lines, then go down to the 4, repeat that, and keep doing that 3 times. And then at the end, we'll go back to the top 2 lines.
Memory by Lawson, Fasao, and Nada. Memory is an old Mexican woman sweeping her yard with a broom. She has grown even smaller now, residing at that vanishing point decades after one dies. But at some times, given the right conditions, an ordinary dream or, well, practically anything in particular, she absolutely looms, assuming the stature she had in the neighborhood. This was the Great Valley, and we had swept in to do the grooming. We were on the move and tending what was essentially someone else's garden. Memory's yard was all of that in miniature, in microcosm. Rivers for irrigation, certain plants, certain trees, ascertained by season. Without a formal acknowledgement, she was most certainly the head of a community, American. Memory had been there forever. We settled in around her. We brought the electricity of blues and baptized gospel, ancient adaptation of icons, spices, teas, fireworks, trestles, newly acquired techniques of conflict and healing, common concepts of collective survival. Memory was there all the while. Her house, her shed, her skin were all the same, weathered. And she didn't do anything especially except hum as she moved. Memory, in essence, was unmemorable. Yet, ask any of us who have long since left, who have all but forgotten that adulterated place, paved over and parceled out by the powers that be, and what we remember, without even choosing to, is an old woman humming, sweeping, smoothing her yard. Memory.
When the idea for this sermon was first a glimmer, I intended to start it quite a bit differently. But then I happened upon a website for something called Legacy Box. Actually, it found me since I had been Googling words like memory, legacy, mementos, algorithms, right? What can I say? What caught my eye was the tagline for this product, Legacy Box. It goes, "The most important decision you'll make is what memories to keep. Let us help you." I surmised that your selected memories needed to fit inside this box, which wasn't really very big, at least in order to use this product. And I had to chuckle because my memories still fill several big blue Rubbermaid bins in the basement storage room in my Pittsburgh house. Newer ones are stored here and there in my home and my office. The blue Rubbermaid bins in Pittsburgh have the words RZ memorabilia scrawled in big black Sharpie block prints on the lids. There's one for my daughter, too, MZ memorabilia, although much of that has now been shipped to her here in Portland, but there's still some things there. Now, my son Sam, thankfully, his Rubbermaid bin is at his father's house in New Hampshire, and God only knows how it will ever make it across the ocean to Spain, where he now lives. Now, inside my bin is an assortment of treasures, from a fragment of my childhood blanket called Bunny to my Camp Wingfoot green corduroy jacket, ablaze with all these pins and patches, my exuberant Jack Kerouac letters, like this one, that I wrote to my parents and my friends on this impossibly blue, thin paper. You might remember these. While I was on my junior year abroad in London in 1976. A pressed corsage from my prom, presumably, and photo albums galore. I've preserved pins and my ID badge from when I was a volunteer at the 1980 Olympics in Lake Placid, and an old autograph book from elementary school, Too Good to Be Forgotten. Now, more recently, my closest childhood friend, Ellen, who was just here last weekend, moved from her house to a condo, and she sent me this bulging manila envelope of long ago written cards and letters between us, attesting to the endurance and depth of our friendship, and this is one that I kept. And the feelings are the same, such a gift. And she included the homemade program from my wedding in 1981. Yeah, we're divorced now, but it was a lovely day. She was a bridesmaid, and well, memories are a mixed bag, aren't they? Some memories make us angry, or sad, or regretful, or they revive a hurt, but we can't just throw them away. So I'm not sorry she put that in there. I thought it made a lot of sense. I already had a copy of it in my memorabilia box. When I was in Pittsburgh last summer, one of the tasks on my to-do list was to pick through those bins and thin them out. And best of luck to me on that score. I did get rid of a few things, and I have tried to accomplish this several times now, and very little gets tossed because I'm sentimental. Not really sure what memories should be thrown away. Do you relate? These memorabilia items, which may seem trivial to other people, are my moments. I'm remembering now a deeply touching episode called The Train on the popular TV series This Is Us. Maybe you watched it too. In it, the character William says to Rebecca at the end of her life, "There is no such thing as a long time ago, just the moments we string together and choose to remember." So maybe Legacy Box is onto something after all. Our kids may not want our heirlooms anymore, the china, the silver service, the casserole dishes, the knickknacks and tchotchkes. That's a trend, apparently. millennials telling their parents, please don't leave me a household of stuff. But we do consider what we find representative. What are the objects to store in bins, to treasure, to pass on, nonetheless? In a blog post written in April of last year, a woman named Shlomit Achiello writes that her 10 by 15 storage unit is her share of the 1.7 billion square foot of storage space being used in the United States. She calls it a dusty land where things go to die, or at least languish. She finds in her storage room iCards from a company she worked for decades ago and a trophy for Employee of the Month. She laments that there are so many faces in the photos in her moldering manila envelope whose names she has forgotten. Was that Ron or was it Rob? He sat right next to me in my office for years. Ron or Rob? In one of her blue bins, she unearths her submission to the 2004 World Trade Center Memorial Competition. She notes that back in the 1990s, she started another unfinished book project, ironically entitled Living Lightly, all about reducing one's footprint on a planet overburdened by humanity's unending desire to create and acquire stuff. That book is mostly on zip disks and other media she can't even access anymore. So why is she keeping it? I can almost see her blushing as she shares this confession. Yet, Shlomit comes to a realization which I share, and perhaps you do too. The value of things, of mementos, is not in ownership, as convention suggests, but rather in experiences and relationships. The rituals of All Souls Day and Dia de los Muertes honor these opportunities to create altars of such objects and photos that enable us to remember and even commune across that veil with beloveds. My colleague, Chrissy Bushyager, underscores this connection in a recent reflection she wrote called People Who Came Before Us. In it, she shares so poignantly how the tools her grandfather or pap preserved in their Western Pennsylvania barn might appear to be junk to an outsider. But Chrissy expresses gratitude for the hand-cranked grill press, the axe with the blackened handle, and the shelves of salvaged wood. She writes, "The great value of these old tools is in the deepening of my son's identity as he has felt a connection with ancestors he never knew across the generations." Now, memorabilia does serve to trigger the sensation of the time and place from which they were gathered, yet giving things away might also offer a chance for others to encounter these moments in personal ways, even if they don't know what the object meant to you. Yet what if we regret parting with an object of memory, or they're swept up unintentionally in a move, or a life change, or a fire, or other happenstance? It happens, right? One possibility. Enter the Thrift Shop Angel of New York City. Her name is Chelsea Brown, and in the summer of 2021, she spied an old handwritten letter in a Manhattan flea market. On a whim, she decided, I am going to buy this item for $1, take it home, and try to trace it. Within a half hour, she had found descendants on a genealogy site, reached out, and offered them this long-lost missive. From that moment on, she was hooked and has to date returned hundreds of heirlooms, letters, and objects. Now, every weekend, you think, how does she do that? Every weekend, she visits thrift shops looking for items with distinctive clues, and usually spends between $1 and $5 on each acquisition. Postage to descendants is typically $8, and she reckons she has spent thousands of dollars on her quirky quest. But why? She responds, there is nothing quite like the feeling of satisfaction that comes from returning a lost item to its owner or family. She has returned wayward Valentine's Day cards from the 1960s and a baby journal from 1908. No one has ever said no. Nobody's ever said just keep it. These aren't just items, she tells us, they're treasures. They're proof that someone has lived a life. And our mementos offer that same proof, the same reassurance that we are connected, that we existed, that we have left something behind. Now, there is some science in the human instinct to attach significance to places, things, and sensations. Studies have shown that more people would rather save a special heirloom than their most expensive laptop or TV in a house fire. And according to recent psychological research, studies are showing that the part of the brain that stores and recalls memories is possibly the same part that integrates experienced sensations, like the smell of a rose, or the taste of honey, or the feel of sandy beach on your feet. Our brain records these memories, but just can't store it all. So objects, apparently, help us remember and evoke both a sentimental feeling and an actual sensation. For all I know, when I take out and hold that corsage from 1974, my brain can still smell it, even if my nose cannot. Now consider a teddy bear you received as a child from a grandparent. You stumble upon it in your Rubbermaid bin, perhaps. The very sight of it, the feel of its fur, the smell brings back the memory of that grandparent and the sensation of holding that teddy bear in your arms while she is holding you in hers. This is why it's so hard to give things away. Why there are 1.7 billion square feet of storage space in our country, and even more in all those Rubbermaid bins. Nostalgia can evoke these desired positive emotions, but they can trigger negative ones too. Let's not kid ourselves, especially if we're lonely, especially if we've had significant losses. Social isolation during COVID really ramped up loneliness, and our emotional regulatory systems tried to correct this by evoking memories of happier times when we felt more connected. We sought to restore what was lost, and I think we continue to do that. If you were raised as a Catholic, you might have learned this ditty. Tony, Tony, turn around, something lost must be found. My former husband, one on this program, David, he sometimes recited it when he misplaced his car keys. Tony, Tony, turn around, something lost must be found. It's a prayer to Saint Anthony of Padua, who is believed to be the patron saint of lost things. It traces back to a scene in his own life when he lost a priceless book of Psalms. This was his personal prayer book in which he had handwritten all sorts of notes and comments in the margin. So he prayed to have it returned, and it was by a thief who had encountered a demon in the forest upon attempting to flee Padua with his prayer book. So soon after Anthony's death, people began praying through him to find objects. We each have a lost and found box for our lives. Relationships, keys, one missing glove, glasses, loved ones buried or estranged. Some things are lost, and it's difficult to find them again, no matter how much we pray or who we pray to. Some things cannot be stored in Rubbermaid bins. If I had thought to do this, and I was going to do this, and I forgot to pick one up in the lobby, I was going to put a mask on this altar of memory to commemorate all those months that we were wearing them during the pandemic. I can't pretend this didn't happen in our collective lives or our collective grief and change it and the changes it has precipitated. It was a real experience. And it's important to remember real experiences. Trying to forget it or any important event or person rather than incorporating it is unhelpful and unhealthy. Can we find our way back to some mythical better time before COVID? Or do we carry forward what we found to a less idealized new normal? I vote for the second option, of course. And do we have a choice, really? The past, I think, particularly after going through a difficult situation, becomes mythicized, the good old days. But what we have now is the future. Tony, Tony, turn around, something lost that must be found. Here's what we can strive to find again: joy, safety, healing, connection. Nostalgia can be tied to grief as readily as it can be tied to joy. In an op-ed piece for the New York Times, the writer Gary Greenberg notes that we can mourn the loss of anything to which we have become attached: a person, a pet, a job, a way of life. In bereavement, what is best about us, our ability to love, becomes a source of our suffering. So may we recognize our unique treasures and unapologetically save the Royal Dalton Fisherman Creamer, which I brought, that was my mother's, the COVID mask, the wedding program from a broken marriage, the aerograms and postcards, the teddy bears, the blanket fragments, the yearbooks, the photos, the love letters, the camp jacket, and the stuff that other people might view as junk. These pieces of our lives are the moments of our lives. They are the evidence that we lived a truly human life of joy and sorrow, always woven fine together. So preserve those memories in your heart or in your Rubbermaid bin or a legacy box, and don't forget the discount code. And remember to pass it on. Trends be damned. What happens to them then? Well, it's hard to say, but if they become lost, the Thrift Shop Angel or St. Anthony might make it right in the end. So may it be. So may we love and remember. Blessed be, blessed we, and amen. I'm going to invite you now to come up and share just a few sentences about what you brought today. Given the time, I'm so glad you all brought things, and I'll have the microphone for you. So if you brought something, come on up and tell us about it, just in a sentence or two.
I actually brought three things. One is a little statue, just a little metal chainsaw statue of a guy with an axe and a chainsaw, which is representing my father. And I think I could show this to any one of my siblings, and they would say, yep, that's Dad. That's the person I remember. That's the guy that was strong and always out there and always helping and always doing things right. And he would be represented well by that. I brought a little picture, which I picked the one that looked a little bit like Day of the Dead today, a little bit Mexican. But this represents my mom. One of the things she did for the last 20 years of life with her dad, or with my dad, or 30 years, was they did a lot of traveling. And wherever she went, she'd buy a little picture. And she would then also get them as gifts from different people and friends and others. And so we have a collection in the family of about 350 pictures, which we have distributed to family members that want them as mementos, but we still probably have 150 of them in the house. The third thing was the globe, which is just in memory of my sister. She offered this to us as a remembrance that geese and humans often mate for life. And it is hers. I'm going to say one other, because you brought it up. This is your fault. My wife and I were talking this morning about what would we bring to represent her father. And when he died, she shipped his anvil from Florida to us, and we have it in the basement. So there, picture an anvil right here, a spiritual anvil right here.
Something you use to temper steel, to make it stronger. I love that as an image. Who else brought something? Okay, Jean?
This is a picture of me at about age 6. It sat on my father's desk for years, and now it sits on mine.
Thank you. Cynthia, I know you brought something.
I'm also a walking memento. This shawl was given to me by a friend who died of pancreatic cancer. I used to play mahjong with her. And toward the end of her life, her husband took her on a kind of trip over lots of the world. She brought home to all her mahjong buddies shawls from Italy. And this is my father's wedding ring. And this is my great-grandmother's wedding ring that my mom wore for many, many years, and I inherited. This, I'm sorry, I brought a lot. I thought we'd have a big altar. This doily represents my mom, who was always crocheting or knitting or something, and I have jillions of these. This is my favorite picture of me and my mother. I'm just a little tiny, cute little tot with my favorite bunny on my mom's lap. This is our dog Kiko's collar. He died a year ago. And this is my dad's book, his memoirs. Some of you read it. I'm going to bring some copies next Sunday when we do the Veterans Day thing for freebies for you. And the last thing, Celine gave me this. It's a little camel, and carved inside is another little camel. And afterwards, you should take a look at it. This is when she was clearing out her house and giving away many things to move into Cherrywood. And so this is, I just had to bring that. I keep it on a shelf behind my desk.
Thank you, Cynthia. Who else? Who else brought something? John?
Could you hold it for me? Sure. Mine are not appropriate for display. Tools from my uncle, my father, and my grandfather. A snakeskin necklace from my sister. From my sister, who lived years in the Philippines, and a bowl that my mother made and we still use.
I love it. Thank you, John.
Sure. John, come on up.
You brought a mask for it, thank you. I forgot.
I decided to grab one because aside from people, we can also have fundamental relationships with abstract constructs. And one of the ones that I had, what I discovered was an unhealthy relationship with, was my sense that no matter what happened in life, I could just keep plowing through. And as the evidence mounts that what's happening to me is long COVID, I'm having to let go of that construct and develop a new relationship with it and with my own vulnerability and mortality. So,
I think we all can identify with the mask on the table of memory.
Well, this is my dog Shannon Victoria. I've had a lot of dogs, but this was my first purebred dog, and she's a bearded collie. I showed dogs for 20 years, and so she has her obedience title. She was a champion. She had 28 children, so she lives on somehow out there. She was the trailblazer for what I'm going to do with all of my pets from her on. I have them cremated, and every time a pet dies, we make a trip over to the Malheur Wildlife Refuge, and I scatter their ashes on top of Buena Vista Butte. And that's where I'm going to be someday, so we'll all be together.
We are wildlife too, right? Somewhat tamed. Yes, come on up. Tony?
I brought this with me. I have 5 aunts who are not in this world anymore, but I think of them, and I have 5 sisters who are in this world, and I think of them. And the other thing is I got this actually as a gift for somebody else many years ago, a work colleague, and I realized I wanted to keep it for myself. So it's important.
And who brought these? Ah, okay. It's the last thing that hasn't been introduced.
Hi, I'm Larry, and I brought a couple of. I brought a couple of imitation elephant hair bracelets, which I got while I was in Kenya, East Africa, after high school. I was really glad to go there. It gave me a lot of perspective on things that, I don't know, I've been interested in, like how developing countries and their problems are, just as important to the future of the world as problems in larger, in developed countries. And, sure.
You want to take them? Okay. And then the last thing is what I brought. I love this. It was my mom's. She loved to entertain. And this is just, I've taken this from place to place. It's this fisherman creamer named the Poacher. And I just love it. It's small. It reminds me of her, of many things of hers. But this is something that really reminds me of her whenever I use it. So there it is. So our closing hymn today is something familiar. Please rise as you are able. We're going to sing Old Lang Syne.
We know that our financial contributions to this congregation come from sacrifice and hard work. We are so grateful for this and commit together that to ensure that the funds we gather collectively go to greater good for ourselves and our world than anything than we could have done alone. May there be an offering to sustain this congregation and grow the life and mission of this congregation. Half of each Sunday's collection is shared with a local nonprofit. This week, in the fourth quarter of the year, we share the bounty with Our Just Future. Our Just Future provides housing, food, employment opportunities, emergency shelter, and more, with the goal of building a community. If you are a first-time visitor, please let the basket pass you by. We will now gratefully receive the gifts of this congregation. We extinguish this flame, but not its meaning and mission in our hearts. Our time together has come to an end, so in peace, be of service to one another. And may you move through this world in love for all of your days.
Thank you, Patty. Thank you, John and Dakota. Thank you, Mary, for collaborating on this service today. Our benediction is Memory Sack by Joy Harjo. That first cry opens the earth door. We join the ancestor road with our packs of memories slung on our backs. We venture into the circle of destruction, which is also the circle of creation, and we make more. So may it be for us, making memories in our lives and together here in this beloved community of Eastrose. Blessed be, blessed we, and amen. I'll make the first announcement to say that, we have a potluck today. We're kind of getting a late start because of our wonderful altar sharing. So if you want to be part of the conversation, the new and renewed UU conversation about Unitarian Universalism and spirituality, we'll meet back here in the sanctuary in the back corner there at, let's say, 12:15, 12:20. And everyone is welcome into that circle of conversation. Patty? Sorry. Go ahead.
First announcement is to remind folks that there will not be an online Zoom conversation today. We wish Sherry well in her recovery. I have two other announcements. Oh, and the coffee will be at the potluck for those who want the coffee. If it is, potluck is for everybody. Everybody's welcome. Don't worry if you didn't bring anything. Just come on back and meet some friends. The Eastrose hiking group is planning a hike on November 8th, Wednesday. This one did not make the pedals, so you won't be getting that reminder in the pedals. But we will be taking the 4-mile Strawberry Island Loop in the gorge this Wednesday. It's a low elevation gain hike, winding around Hamilton Lake on the Columbia River. Meet at Eastrose at 9 a.m. for carpooling. To sign up, text or email Katie Larcell. You'll find her number in the directory. Do it by Monday night. And the last and final announcement, one that we are all looking forward to, the Winterfest is coming. Winterfest is a lovely Eastrose tradition, began in 1988. That is the year I moved to Oregon. This is when we kick off the holidays on the first Saturday of December with a holiday tea and bake sale. Winterfest 2023 will be on December 2nd. We'll have delicious food served from 1 until 3. Winterfest is free for all, but donations will also be gratefully received. Family and friends are all welcome. The reservation list is in the lobby, or you can contact Cynthia Hopkins to ensure that you get seats. We will also set up an online reservation system. It takes numerous volunteers to pull off an event like the Winterfest. If you would like to sign up, you can find sign-up sheets in the lobby. And for more information or to volunteer, contact Cynthia Hopkins. Cynthia, I've said your name 4 times. You want to wave your hand? Yeah. Okay.
I also want to add one other thing.
Oh,
Are you done?
I am not quite done. Childcare is being arranged, and now I'm done.
And Linda Shaldak is here, and she has the forms for the friendship dinners. So if you would like to sign up for one of the friendship dinners, please see Linda after the service, and you can fill out one of the reservation forms. Pete?
One very quick thing, no snow cap this week.
Okay, good to know. Okay, thank you, Pat. More?
Well, nope. Go in peace. Enjoy potluck.
Go in peace, enjoy potluck, sign up for things, come back to talk if you'd like, and go in peace.
And if you can't locate Katie Larcell,